Be cringe. Be consistent and be cringe. Be consistently cringe. I think it's the key to finding a partner. It's the key to surrounding yourself with the right people. It's the key to being a unique, standout artist. Cringe nowadays is a requirement for whatever you want to do. Hi, I'm Case Kenny. I'm an author, mindfulness expert. I like to call myself an optimism enthusiast. And today I'm going to be writing letters to my younger self. This is Postmarked Letters. Handwritten letters really speak to what I'm so passionate about, which is optimism and mindfulness through the power of self-expression through words and actually writing it and touching it and feeling it. Not only is there, a lot of neuroscience between the mind and body connection when you write something, when you feel something, I personally find a lot of clarity when I take the time to actually write something and I think about the words that I want and the emotion that I want to convey. So certainly chose the right guy to talk about handwritten letters. First letter I'm going to write is to new podcaster Case. Really, this is kind of like the origin story of everything I do. I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship. I was also very invested in my career at the time. I worked in technology sales, and it was interesting because I felt very secure in my career. I was like, this is what I need to do. We take clients out and we entertain and we make money and we close deals. It was very validating. It was a very clear blueprint. But then there was like my human essence, who I was, and I did not feel the same clarity. I felt lost. I felt like I was very unfair to myself. So I was kind of frustrated by the fact that I had such clarity in my career, but as a person, as a human, I didn't really know who I was. And that was the entire reason I started writing and I started the podcast in particular. I wanted to force myself to have a point of view and do it in a vulnerable format. I saw sitting down and doing this would be this creative challenge and it made me uncomfortable. So it totally changed everything about me and super grateful looking back that I decided to take that step forward. The vulnerability you bring when starting this podcast will teach you, I would say, how to be patient with yourself. I think that's the biggest thing for me when I was younger and feeling unsure. My gut instinct was to go faster and was to try to do more. And I think it served me well in a sense, but there was no presence at that time. And now looking back 7 years later, really what's giving me peace and clarity has been to slow down and to simplify. And I wish I would have had that conversation with myself before, but the power of vulnerability is that you learn in retrospect. And now for me, it's a matter of slowing down and breathing and realizing that comparison isn't necessarily going to give me what I want. There's no need to rush. So I would have told myself that. You don't need a massive audience. What matters is the message. For me, the message has been the same thing for 7 years. It's to help people feel seen and to give them a reason to be optimistic. And I think if you choose a lane and you do it enough, it's going to lead you in the direction you want. Maybe not the exact outcome you want, but the direction. That message then can become a book. It could lead you to a show like this. So I think sometimes people underestimate the power of the message itself to lead you in different directions and trust that it'll lead you in a fulfilling one. And hope, yes, of course, that it reaches millions and millions of people. But in the meantime, it would never be remiss to focus on the message and to do it hundreds of times. Even if your first episode isn't perfect, trust in the power of consistency. If I was younger and heard that, I would think that's a boring topic. But for me, consistency is everything. It's the superpower in a relationship. It's a superpower in your career. It's a superpower when it comes to creating. I really do believe that if you want something and you're willing to do consistent things towards it, you inevitably will get a version of the thing that you want. Particularly so in podcasting. Twice a week for 7 years, I've never missed a week, and I've had a lot of ups and downs in life, things that have happened, things that have really tempted me to pull back. And like the podcast is it's like showering. It's something that you should do every day, right? And for me, it's what I do twice a week because I get so much power from it. To be consistent, you have to have a really strong why, really rooted, passionate, intense, creative reason to create. Just keep doing it, and inevitably it will point you in the right direction. Your real power won't come from authority. It'll come from, I would say, relatability. People just want to feel seen. And that's why I speak a lot from I I try to keep things grounded and only talking about things that I've experienced. If I had to append another word from it, I think it would also be hope. Nowadays, it's easy to rile people up. It's easy to point out things that need fixing. I think it's another thing to help calm people down. And I think that's why I'm on earth. So for me, I don't really think about authority. I think about how I could help people feel seen and give them a reason to be hopeful. And if that gives me authority, then amazing. Otherwise, I'm just doing what helps me also feel seen and be hopeful. Yeah, I don't think I ever expected podcasting to take me where I am now. For me, I was pretty set on being a corporate guy, but it's really interesting what happens when you just keep pulling on a thread of interest and passion and seeing where it leads you. And that's exactly what I did. It was just that immediate connection to the material where I was like, well, I'm going to do this regardless of whether it's my career or not. And now it is my career, and it has been for quite some time, and I'm very grateful for that. All right, we'll send this one off. Priority mail. Here we go. Now I'm going to write a letter to New Mindset Journal Case. About a year and a half after I started the podcast, I was like, oh, this is a pretty interesting thing. I wonder if I can make a living from this. And at the time, I was like, well, I don't want to do the traditional thing of, do sponsors and advertising and things like that. It felt a little disconnected from what I wanted to do. And at the time, I kept hearing, you got to get up in the morning and journal. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. A lot of guys are journaling, right on. And I went out and bought a bunch of journals. No disrespect to those journals, I just didn't connect with them. If anything, they stressed me out more than they brought me peace or clarity. So I ended up just creating my own. This 60-day journal that was a mix of very simple prompts, but with a depth to it that I felt like I was taking a deep breath after I wrote down my answer, and it felt lighter. And then COVID hit, and that set things back. But then it was interesting as well in that then everyone was stuck at home. People were struggling with different emotions and mental health. So it created this opportunity where I had these things created. They were sitting in a warehouse, and I just started to post about them. And really the rest is history from there. I ended up selling many of them, fortunately. Learned a lot, ended up creating 4 other ones. It really inspired me to start creating things, not just the talk, not just the post on Instagram, but to actually take the things that have helped me in my life into things that you could touch and feel and put them out there. But also it showed me that I could be entrepreneurial and creative. I could have this softness to myself and what I do, but also be all business about it. Don't just create a product, build something that creates an emotional connection. In relationships, they call it emotional bids for connection between two people. How do you relate to each other through emotionally calling and catalyzing between each other? If you can create a product that does that with someone, I think it's the ultimate goal, and it's the ultimate gift to have something that isn't just physical, but is emotional. If you build something that people can touch and feel, and it strikes an emotional chord with them, it serves an emotional need with them, it's an emotional bid for connection with them, inevitably you will be successful. You will have people who rally around a thing that you created and share it. I think that's the biggest thing that has really floored me, frankly. I thought I would, sell maybe, 100 or 200 of these things over the years. And the way that people have not only used it, but shared it, I think is really special because it's connected with them on an emotional level. I've had people who have bought the New Mindset Journal, which is just 60 days of prompts, and they've bought it many times over because you never know, the third time they have a breakthrough and it changes their life. So I think you focus on that emotional connection. I think the rest is gonna take care of itself. One surprising lesson in blending meditation with music has been that mindfulness isn't always about standing still. There's this thinking that anything deep and vulnerable, or meditation, or breath work, or therapy, that's for sad people. Of course it is, it's for everyone. But for me, mindfulness, meditation, breath work, it is a celebration. It is energizing. It's not low energy, it is high energy. So for me, I started working with DJs and producers to bring together upbeat, 130 BPM dance music with mindfulness and meditation. This thing that you think is always here, and we brought it up to here. The right music can bring out an emotion in you that is lying dormant until it gets that right spark. People can realize that sharing your feelings, being honest with yourself can be this exciting thing. And to me, this is just like my entire ethos of vulnerability. It's why I joke when people ask me what I do for a living. I say I share my feelings for a living, because younger case would have thought that that's like the worst job title in the world. Current case thinks it's the best because I've seen that it's an uplifting thing. It's an exciting thing. It's the key to optimism. And I'm a big house music guy, love house music, Above and Beyond, Armin van Buuren on the trance side, Nemeko on the techno side. There's something about the structure of dance music and that it's typically break, build, drop, break, build, drop. And it just gets you in this flow state that for me, whether I'm writing or I'm just self-reflecting, it really just pulls the vulnerability out of me. It's a big part of my creative universe, and it's also a big part of my emotional universe. Whenever you wonder if you're spreading your message too thin, remember that it only has to reach one person. I'm a big proponent of 1 is better than 0 in pretty much every area of life. Walking for 1 mile is better than 0. Putting out 1 quote in a day is better than 0, even if it's a small thing. And it's the same when it comes to thinking about product or audience. Another story I remember it must have been 2015, before I even started the podcast, I was writing online in different forums, just trying to find a way to express myself. And I was about to give up because I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know how to make money from it. I wasn't getting a lot of readers. And I was at Lollapalooza, and this dude came up to me, and it was just this big hulking guy, real manly dude. And he came up to me, he's like, "Hey, are you Case?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, I really like reading your blog." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know anyone read my blog." And that guy did. And it really changed things for me. 1 is better than 0. And eventually with consistency, my favorite topic, it'll turn into many hundreds, thousands, millions. And it might be slow. I really don't think there's much as far as an overnight success anymore. And that's fine. The value is in what you learn along the way. And eventually you look back and you're like, wow, it happened the way I wanted it to happen. I just didn't realize it. We'll go ahead and ship this one out to New Mindset Journal Case. Okay. Now we're going to write a letter to best-selling author Case. This is the chapter that I'm in. It's funny, I think back, like 2020, 2021, people being like, "Case, you should write a book." And I remember very specifically saying, "No, I'm not ready for that." Or, "People don't want a book from me." And I look back at that with such curiosity of why I thought that. I very much believe that everyone has a book in them. I very much believe that everyone has wisdom in them that is unique to them that other people need to hear. So I look back with a good amount of curiosity as to why I talked myself out of writing that. But I'm very glad I stepped into my first book in 2023. That's bold of you. And to have so many people rally around it. I wrote my upcoming book, The Opposite of Settling, and to see all the excitement around that. But now I want to write a book every 2 years. We live in an amazing time where more and more people are picking up physical books, which is amazing. There's more bookstores being opened than there are being closed. And for me, it really combines my passion for the work, the topic, the mindfulness, the optimism, but also the tangibility of it, to have it in something you can touch and feel, or even in an audiobook form. You can grow a movement and show up fully if you're willing to be cringe. So it's the 2 C's, be consistent and be cringe, be consistently cringe. I think it's the key to finding a partner. It's the key to surrounding yourself with the right people. It's the key to being a unique, standout artist. Cringe nowadays is a requirement for whatever you want to do. I've done a lot of research on it. My new book, The Opposite of Settling, is about this idea that cringe is what brings the right people into your life. I always say that being cringe is a filter for the wrong people, but a magnet for the right people. If you're worried that you're too extroverted, or you're too passionate, or you're too weird, or you're too quirky, that's the thing that you need to tap into. In relationships, whether that's a relationship with one person or a group of people, or you're starting a movement, that's the glue. Humor, playfulness, all these things that we wrap up under, "Oh, that's too cringe," that's the very thing that's going to create a strong relationship. So be willing to be cringe. This isn't just another self-help guide. It's a reimagining of the purpose of a relationship. We're all doing the same thing, right? We want to be successful, we want to be healthy, and we want to find a good, healthy, long-term relationship. And who wouldn't? That's a big, important part of life, to find love, to embrace love, to have the gift that love offers. But most of us, my younger self included, could never really put words to why we're doing this thing. Like specifically, why am I looking for a partner? How does this serve me? And the result is we've lost sight of the true purpose of a relationship. It's not to offer relief. It's not something we search for out of fear of being alone. It's not about completion. It is about expansion. I really like looking at relationships in that way, that a relationship is about expansion of yourself. And when you look at relationships like that, well, then a requirement of finding that type of relationship is that you know yourself. You find joy. You've created joy in your life so that when someone comes along, they amplify it. And then you look at the relationship through the lens of amplification. Does this person encourage me to continue to push myself? Or is it limiting? Do I dim my light? Do I feel less free? And I think it's really important to think about it in this lens. Does this amplify the joy that I've worked so hard to create for myself? And in the meantime, it's just your job to go out and create that joy and find that joy. And you live a great life as a result. It's not completion, it's a spark for amplification. You're not writing for downloads, you're writing for, I'm just gonna say, yourself. I need to hear the things that I write about. I need to remind myself of the purpose of a relationship. I wrote the opposite of settling because in my 20s and early 30s, I was this stereotypical dude who thought that a relationship would rob me of my independence. I genuinely believe that. Now, the purpose of a relationship is to amplify your independence. Chapter 1 of my new book is about look at a relationship through the lens of independence. Do you feel more independent or less independent in a relationship? I really think, and the social science research supports it, independence is something that should be amplified because you have that love and that connection. You both should be more willing to do things outside of each other. And for me, that is a message I needed to hear. Perhaps so badly that I wrote a book about it. And it floors me sometimes when I post something that I think no one's gonna care about, and it's thousands and millions of people who do. So write for yourself, speak from truth and honesty without ego, and I think the rest is gonna take care of itself. This isn't just a book about mindset, it's about what happens when you settle up, comma, the opposite of settling. But I've got a little bit of beef with the phrase settle down. I'm ready to settle down. I can't wait to settle down. I think my parents used to be like, hey, so when are you gonna settle down? It's just a phrase, of course. But it carries with it this energy that I think gives the purpose of a relationship a bad sales pitch. Down means less. Down means passive. When I think of a relationship, I wanna think of more. So I've coined the term settle up to have this expansion of life and energy and doing and of oneself, and to seek that through a relationship. That is the version of a relationship that I envision. It's one that's worth the wait. It's one that you don't seek out of fear or out of relief or out of aversion to being alone because you're already complete on your own. So I call it settling up. It's the opposite of settling, and it's the opposite of settling down. As a delusional optimist myself, I want to help people to be optimistic in face of probably the heaviest thing that we can carry in life, which is frustration in dating. And I have found that the key to breaking through that, it's the way you speak to yourself about the thing that you want while you're on the way to getting it. How do you speak to yourself after another bad, frustrating date? How do you speak to yourself at another situationship that fell apart? How do you speak to yourself when you feel lonely? That's what the book is about. It's about helping you avoid settling in the face of that, because that tends to be the default response is, well, maybe I'm asking for too much. So I wrote this to help people. I say how to get everything you want out of love and life without losing your spark. So it's a big dose of optimism, about love, about purpose, about our relationship with others. I could write 5 books on this subject. I think if there's one thing that I love talking about is helping people be more optimistic. You can't force optimism on yourself. You can't force toxic positivity on yourself. You shouldn't. It's about understanding why you're worthy of the thing you're looking for and reminding yourself of that and being resolute in it Also bringing in a lot of psychology to prove things. When I say, hey, you're more likable than you think you are, let me prove that to you with some science. It combines all my favorite things, a mindful, simple approach to optimism with some psychology on top. And yeah, I think you're really gonna enjoy it. Okay, sending this one out to best-selling author case. I really wish I could talk to my younger self. I would sit him down and I would be gentle but gentle but firm. I think there's a lot of areas when I was younger that I called it living in the gray, living ambiguously, doing a lot of emulating, copying and pasting other people's ambitions and expectations. And I look back on my 20s and early 30s in particular and think about how rushed I was at times because of that. So I think certainly amongst the many things I would tell my younger self would be to slow down. We'd start there and probably have a great chat.